We're going to talk for the next couple of weeks about something that's been on my heart for a while. And I think sometimes the church kind of doesn't talk about it enough. And I think it's important that we understand what our country was founded on and what our part as Christians play in that. And so we're going to take the next couple of weeks and look at God and country. And it seems to me that God is kind of being squeezed out of our country.
Right.
You know, I was just listening to that right now. When's the last time you heard a president even mention the word God? They don't even mention it. They'll allude to it sometimes, but never really say the word. It was interesting because Paul and I had a conversation, and John, a few Tuesdays ago, and we were talking, and the Lord kind of impressed on me is, for Christians, I mean, I want you to just think about it in your own life. When's the last time you said the word Jesus? That you actually just said the word. Let's try it once. Everybody just say Jesus once.
Jesus.
See, it's not that hard. Okay? You can do it. You know? But when we get with friends and family, we go, yeah, I love... You know, even sports, you know, these guys who say they're Christians, in the Super Bowl game, the quarterback for the Broncos, the first thing he said is, I want to thank the man upstairs. Well, my son-in-law and myself were sitting next to each other watching the game, and we're wondering, well, is that John Elway sitting up in the press box? Or is he talking about God, you know?
Right.
But then there was a player on the field, Von Miller. They gave him a microphone, and before they could get it away from him, he says, I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Amen.
And we're all excited about that here in church, but think about it a second. When's the last time you said the word Jesus to somebody? Even sometimes in your own family, it's hard to get out sometimes, I think. And I think as Christians, we need to stand, we need to have a voice. And God gives us this voice, and we need to stand for who He is. And some of the questions I have is, you know, in putting this together is, you know, where is God? I mean, where is He? Where is He in your life? Where is He in the church? Where is He in our community? And where is He in our nation? And where is He in the world? I think we lost track of Him in the world. And I think many of us believe, too, that politics and religion don't mix. But that's what our country's founded on, is God. And so how could they not mix? How could there not be a mixture there? And we're going to kind of dive into this a little bit to maybe explain that and to talk about that. But with everything going on in our nation, I'm sure each of you, I mean, raise your hand. In the last week, did you have a conversation, or did you even think to yourself in your mind about news you watched about the election that's going on? Did you talk about it at all this week? Anybody here besides me? Yeah. I mean, probably most of you have talked about it, said something about it, got irritated by it, like, what's he saying now, or what is she doing, or what's going on here? And it's interesting to watch some of the people that are following these politicians. And it's not very difficult to have an opinion about things, is there? I mean, most of us have an opinion about things, but I think the thing that troubles most of us, and is troubling our nation, is they don't have an answer.
Right.
Because they squeeze the answer out of it. They put God over here, now they're searching for the answer, and God's right there going, I'm the answer right here. Again, I ask you, when's the last time you heard a prayer from a president? When's the last time you heard a prayer around your dinner table? When's the last time you heard a prayer with your family? With your friends? And so it hits home. We got to be careful that we're not squeezing God out of our own lives. And our current debate that's going on right now is it's all about, you know, the rich, the not rich, the capitalists, the socialists, the big government, the big business, Republicans, Democrats, and everybody's on a side here, you know. And it's crazy. But there's another contrast that would be better frame our current national debate. one is if taken seriously, would take us back to our roots as a nation and would help us to restore our national conscience. And that's what I want to talk to you about this morning is our conscience. See, the conscience doesn't have any law. The conscience just knows what's right and wrong. What's happened with the world today is we've lost our conscience, so we just make more rules. And our conscience is what our faith and what we believe in. That is built into us. And we've lost that. So conscience is the eternal part of us. It informs our oughts and our ought-nots. I mean, I'm sure most of you have kids around or something, and you're thinking, well, you ought not do that, you ought not do that, or you ought to do that. I mean, how many times have we told our kids or our siblings or friends things they should do and things they shouldn't do? I mean, our conscience is kind of our internal moral code. We kind of have that in us, so we know what is right and what is wrong. And when you violate it, when you do something wrong, don't you feel guilty about it? I mean, all of a sudden something kind of comes over you, like, that really wasn't right for me to do. But when you violate it, okay, and you keep going on, moving past it, not feeling guilty anymore, or trying to redo it all, you have to make rules now because you don't have any conscience. And that's what we're doing now, is we're just making more rules because we've lost our conscience. And I think families and communities, and even in the church here, we have a conscience about our church. Just inside the building. We really frown on bringing in food and drink into the sanctuary. That's not written down anywhere. There's no law written in our books about that. But it's a conscience that we know that we respect this place too much to have somebody come in with their coffee and their donut and sit and enjoy service, eating something. And we need to concentrate on God. So that's not a rule. It's just a conscious thought. And our families also have those same conscious thoughts. When I had the youth group, I only had one rule for our youth group. When I had the youth group. Respect each other, respect the place. We kept it simple. So how many rules, think about in your own life, how many rules do you have in your family? How many rules are happening in the community, in our nation? The rules are going crazy. But see, in a relationship of shared conscience, you don't have to have many rules or laws. There's a conscience about being right and being wrong. I mean, think about marriage. I mean, think about all the rules there could be in a marriage. Donna's going, yeah, we should progress in it. I mean, there could be like 1,000 different rules for a marriage. But you know what? There's this inner thing in us that says, do it or don't do it. You ought to do it, you ought not do that. You ought to do this, you ought not do that. And I think healthy cultures are ruled by conscience, not by the law. And just think about the place you work. How many rules is there? Or how many conscious things are there? Maybe your team you played on, or marriage. I mean, do they have rules in your place of work? Do we have a rule here? Don't take the seat cushion home. We don't, because that's just wrong. And second of all, you're not going to have something to soften your tush the following week. But you know what I mean? You just wouldn't do that. And that's that conscience we have in it. And so nations have this collective conscience as well, I think. And not everyone in the nation, okay, not everyone understands it. But let me give some examples of the nation's conscience. And we're kind of setting up next week's, we're really going to get into it, but I want to make you understand what conscience is, and maybe to help you tomorrow or on Tuesday when you vote to really search your conscience and not so much about the law. Okay? Look at these examples. The anti-slavery movement in England and the U.S. was fueled by an appeal to national conscience. The civil rights movement was an appeal to a national conscience. The laws governing abortion are an appeal to a national conscience. Child pornography laws, we don't allow men to marry 11-year-olds or have 3 wives here. Legalizing certain drugs. Resistance to gay marriage is largely fueled by conscience. Just doesn't seem like it ought to be. And a conscience, a conscience has to be informed. And where are you getting your information about your conscience? See, we're born with this sense of right and wrong, but then we're taught the differences as well as we grow up. So let me share a passage with you in Romans chapter 2, verse 14 and 15. It says, "Indeed, when Gentiles who do not have the law do by nature things required by the law, they are law for themselves. Even though they do not have the law, they show that the requirements of the law are written on their hearts. So they do know what's right and wrong. Their consciences also bearing witness, and their thoughts now accusing, now even defending them." So we're all born with this inner thing that I think God's just showing us, this is right, this isn't right. We know it. That's kind of bred into us. We're taught not to cheat, to steal, or to lie. We're taught not to litter, at least here in America. I mean, you see some countries, they're not taught to not litter. They just throw it all out. We're taught things related to morality, things that should be right, things that should be wrong. But what informed our national conscience? What has actually formed us? I mean, other countries seem to be bothered sometimes by us, by the things that we do here in America. I mean, we don't shun the poor, we don't stone pregnant women who are unmarried. I mean, there's countries that do these things. Some countries think it's right, some think it's wrong. But how is our national conscience formed? I think it's shaped by a sense of personal accountability and things that I know that I need to do or not do. As things related to God in the Old Testament and the New Testament. This is, our conscience should be what's here. Amen. And so are you informing yourself with this? Or are you informing yourself with Fox News, CNN, MSNBC? What are you informing your mind with? Do you spend more time watching the debates than you do reading the Word? Are you more interested in what Trump's going to say the next time, or are you reading the Word? Are you trying to understand what Hillary's trying to say, or are you reading the Word? Are you looking to see, is Bernie going to make it, or are you reading the Word? And the answers are here. And is your conscience lined up with that? I mean, the second sentence in our Declaration of Independence, just to remind you of our founders here. Here's the second sentence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And this idea was applauded through the anti-slavery movement and the civil rights movements. Along with that came the idea that we were accountable to God, that we were informed. I think the problem with our country now is Christians aren't informed. We say we are, but we're not because we're not showing it. I wonder how many of us are just tired of it all and say, I'm not even going to go vote and forget it. I'm not even going to go vote. Imagine if all the Christians Tuesday stood up and went into that booth, like Paul said, shut the curtain and you just let God give you the answer. Whatever it is. Even if you think, man, I can't vote for him. How am I going to do that? The guy's crazy. Whatever God's telling you to do. Or a woman president, I can't do that. Whatever God's telling you to do, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for because I don't even know who I'm going to vote for yet. I'm praying for it. I'm searching. I'm trying to get informed. I'm looking at some backgrounds. What do they believe? When's the last time that person prayed somewhere? When's the last time they mentioned God? How does their life line up with God, with my faith, with this book? How were they brought up? What do they believe? How about the Gettysburg Address? Here's Abraham Lincoln, right? Sometimes we got to go way back to find out when the president talked about God. He said that we were highly resolved that the dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation love this. Under God shall have a new birth of freedom. Being under authority and being accountable to. The Pledge of Allegiance in 1950, lifted from Lincoln's address and added to the Pledge of Allegiance, guess what? Under God. In 1950, I would have thought that was way before that myself. The national motto. Something else that happened in the 1950s. We're in the Cold War. Remember the whole Cold War, some of you, with Russia? And how Russia was associated with communism and atheism? Well, in 1956, the 84th Congress passed a joint resolution to replace the existing motto with "In God We Trust."
Amen.
And in 1956, July 30th, President Eisenhower, motivated by that desire, what he did is he voted that in as a resolution. And in 1964, this blew me away. In 1964, "In God We Trust" was printed on coins. I thought it would have been way before that. When's the last time you heard a politician say, "We trust God"? Here's what it mostly sounds like in America right now. We trust in American ingenuity. We can do it. We're the most powerful nation in the world. We've always picked out our bootstraps and we've done it ourselves, right?
Bunch of hooey.
We're the richest country in the world. Other places you hear around the holidays, you hear "Happy Holidays," not "Merry Christmas." Or you see Easter sales at all the department stores. What happened to being closed on Sundays?
Right.
I remember when I grew up, my dad and I had to go get gas for his truck on Saturday because the station was closed on Sunday because he had to go to work on Monday. The supermarkets were closed. Everything was closed. I don't even know if you go out to eat on Sunday back then. You had to probably go home and cook it yourself. What's happened to the world? That's what I'm saying. In a short period of time, it's squeezed God out of it. And we as Christians are helping it. We're right along with it, kind of, yeah, it's a lot easier without you. But I still praise God, but, you know. The accountability to God and God talk has fallen out of favor. We don't talk about Him enough. We're not accountable. When God puts on our heart to say something, we don't say anymore. Do you know that every inauguration of a president, a group sues to keep the new president from saying, "So help me God"? Every time a president is inaugurated, they have a group that sues to say they can't say that. And the application of separates of church and state just gets stranger and stranger and stranger as we go along. And it's coming full circle. Because full circle, here it is. The value we place on individuals and individual rights is a reflection of the value our founders believed the Creator placed on the individual. And what we're doing now is we're using those same rights to distance ourselves from God because we believe we deserve something. And we're leaving God out of it so we can have what we want. And by eliminating God from our national conversation, we limit our ability to publicly recognize the source of why we have what we have. Why is the United States so prosperous? Why are we the richest nation in the world? Because we're under God, that's why. But if we continue the way we're going, I mean, the arrogance that we have, even as Christians, I think, the arrogance we have, that it continues to eat away at our national conscience. It's taken away all that goodness that God has placed in us. It's solely taken it away. We don't even have a sense anymore of what we ought or ought not anymore. I'm getting confused what bathroom to use anymore. I mean, which one do you go to? I mean, I can imagine the whole lineup in there now. I mean, come on. I think all this happens because we're eliminating God from our national conversation. we're losing that conscience as a nation. And every man and woman's going to do what's right in their own eyes. And law is going to continue to replace our conscience. And so while you line up, and some of us are lining up right behind the liberals, progressive, Republicans, Democrats, big government, small government, rich, poor, there's two lines that are forming. All those groups, there's two lines that are forming. Those who recognize God as the ultimate source of our provisions, and those who do not. Those who are not ashamed to say, in God we trust, and those who say, in government and American ingenuity we trust, in we trust. Listen to the politicians and see how many times you hear, in we trust. And we certainly don't want to offend non-believers, right? I mean,
Oh, Lord, help us.
we would rather offend God by not standing up for Him than offending the unbeliever. I know this hits home with me. So I guess my question and my thought through this whole thing was, are we as a church, are you distancing yourself from God when it comes to political matters? And if you're sitting here this morning going, you know what, I don't really care about what's happening, I'm not going to vote anyway, you're distancing yourself from God.
That's right.
You are. It's a right. God wants you to vote. I mean, it's easy to get caught up in all the political stuff. It's easy. I get caught up into it. Man, I get caught up in the whole Trump thing. I love watching that guy. I'm sorry, I love watching him. You know? And you just all of it, what's he going to say next? You know, you just want to, but I should spend more time, what's Jesus going to tell me next? I should be doing that more. And you get caught up in all of that stuff, and then you begin to believe, he can change things. He can't change anything.
No.
Bernie can, Hillary can. None of them. Trump can. Nobody can. There's no politician that can change anything. Only God can do the change.
Yes.
He's the one who can change things. He's the one who can make a difference. And He's the one who is seeking to your conscience even right now to start to prepare you for the one He wants to be in office. The one that He knows that He can work with. The one that He knows has a crack in the door that He can maybe push that open more to get them going His direction. That's what He wants. I don't know who that is. I wish I did. I want to end with this passage in 2 Kings because it makes sense to me of where we're at as a nation, but also where you might be in your own Christian walk. It might be in your own where you're at in even life right now. And in 2 Kings is the story of a woman who is in need because she has to sell everything she has, right? Or has to sell her 2 sons into slavery because she has all this debt to pay. I mean, these stories are like 2,000 to 3,000 years old. I mean, how many of us have that same issue? Man, I have a debt to pay, well, how am I going to pay it, right? I mean, I've had that before. Praise God, I don't have it anymore, but I used to. This is her example of how she could have went to the way of the king, right? Of the king of the nation she was in, and in this time they were exiled Israelites, and so they kind of scattered all these people around, and they were okay to still do their own religions and all that. And so this lady, right, starting in verse 4, the wife of a man from the company of the prophets cried out to Elisha. Now Elisha isn't Elijah, it's Elisha. Elisha was the prophet of the people. That's kind of how I look at it. He just stayed there close to the people. It wasn't really huge things he did, but just things, he was just with us. And one you could count on, go to, and all this. And so, a wife of a man from the company of the prophets cried out to Elisha, "Your servant, my husband is dead. And now that he revered the Lord." So here's this lady, her husband died, and she has all this debt to pay. But now his creditors are coming to take my 2 boys as his slaves. Elisha replied to her, how can I help you? Tell me, what do you have in your house? I just love this, how he's not, because the way of the world is just to sell the kids to slavery. That's the way of the world, to take care of me. But she went to a man of God, a prophet. And so she says, the servant has nothing there at all, she said, except for a small. If you have a Bible, circle small jar of olive oil. I want you to remember small. Okay? Elisha said, go around and ask all your neighbors for empty jars. Don't ask for just a few. Then go inside and shut the door behind you and your sons. Pour oil into all the jars, and each is filled. As each is filled, put it to one side. Now, how much oil did she have?
Small jar.
Small jar, and she went around town getting containers, and what happened? She filled each one of those containers. The oil never stopped. It continued to fill up all the jars. If she would have got double the jars, she probably had double the oil, but she stopped at a certain point. Even with a small bit of oil, she was still amazed that it filled all those containers. Verse 5, she left him and shut the door behind her and her sons. They brought the jars to her, and she kept pouring. When all the jars were full, she said to her sons, bring me another one. But he replied, there's not a jar left. Then the oil stopped flowing. She went in and told the man of God, and he said, go, sell the oil and pay your debts. Your sons can live on what is left. Here's a couple things here that I pulled out of it that aren't hard to find. I think sometimes we sit here and we believe in God, but can He really do what He says He's going to do? Can He really, and can He change the nation? If I don't think He really changed the nation, then if I was that lady, I'd probably just sell my son because it wasn't worth keeping him. Just be part of the king instead of part of the kingdom, right? But she was a believer, and what I want you to think about is I want you to put yourself in the middle of that story. You're standing right in the middle of it, and you're watching all this going on. You're watching the lady over here. She went over to Elisha, asked for the oil. She gets all the jars. Like, what is she doing? She fill them up. Wow, man, how'd she do that? And the other side over here is, well, you could the kingdom or the king is saying, or the nation is saying, you need to sell your sons to pay off your debts. And right now in our nation, we're as Christians standing there deciding which way we should go. Should we sell ourselves to the king just because it makes us feel more comfortable? Or should we trust in God that He is going to provide, is going to give us those things, is going to make changes, and go out and trust Him and get more jars? What's interesting is she had faith, but if she would have had more faith, she would have had more. I think Christians today are living right in that place, in that political exile. And the question for us, are we going to sell out to the king, or are we going to stick with Jesus Christ and the kingdom? And the temptation for us is to join the logic of the king, because it just seems like, well, God can't. We're in such a mess right now. How can God ever change things? I mean, this passage is perfect for somebody who got to the end of their rope. And that's where the nation's at right now. We're at the end of our rope.
Right.
What are we going to do? That's where she was at. What am I going to do? And Elisha just called me. You know what? How much oil do you have? A little thing. That's all we need. Just a starter there. God's going to take care of the rest for you. Let's go get some containers. I mean, are we willing to stand up for what Jesus stands for? Or are we going to continue to allow the world views, ideals, and ways crowd over Jesus' views, ideals, and ways? What are we going to do? And I say the writer of Kings puts us right in the beginning, right in the middle of that story. And I think if this morning, and if you picture that, if you read that over again, I think we begin to think differently when we start to be more informed by His Word than by CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. See, we see the way the life works with the world of kings, and we see the way the life works in the world of the kingdom. We're seeing both ways. I think when we see it that way, our political views and our votes now mean more to us, and when we go in there, gosh, man, God's going to use you. You're just one, but man, if we all do that, what an amazing election time it'll be. I mean, which story do you want to be yours in this? Do you want to sell out to the King? Or do you want to stand up for the kingdom? What's going to be your story this morning? See, our hope, your hope, my hope, hope of the nation, is only found in God. Here's the exciting part, though. Get ready. Get ready to see what God does with the faithful. Because you know what? When we begin to identify ourselves with God, when more of us, that's when our story can be told. And it wasn't until that lady went out and actually borrowed all the jars. Could you imagine her going out and borrowing the jars? What do you need all these jars for? You only have a small thing. You don't have enough to fill these. You wouldn't even want to go to the next one because you were like, why am I doing that? But she had such faith in God that she was going to do that. In the same way, wherever you're at today in your life, or where the nation's at right now, the kingdom doesn't rise because a woman gets a lot of oil. But the story of God's faithfulness arises because of it. And you know what? You start reading this book. Because God doesn't use the powerful, He doesn't use the mighty, He doesn't use the strong to get things done. He uses us. Look around. There's nobody strong in here. There's nobody powerful in here. There's nobody with a lot of money here. There's nobody with a lot of strength in here. He's going to use us. That's what He wants to do. And this morning He's talking. He's saying, oh man, get that conscience. I'm informing you right now. Remember. And I pray to God that if you came in this morning going, I'm done with the election. I'm just sick of it. I hope this morning when you leave here going, man, I can't wait. Tuesday comes because I'm going to vote. Because that's what we need to do as Christians. If we as a community of believers stand up, God can change the world. He can change your situation. He can change our church's situation. He can change our community. When we each decide to believe in our conscience and to follow it and to inform it with His Word. That's where we're going to make a change. Not by Trump, Hillary, or Bernie. Ain't going to happen. But through God is where the change is going to be. Let's bow our heads.